start to explain today is a topic called number plane. Firstly, I want to do plotting points and reading points off a number plane. A number plane is made up of two lines, an x-axis, which is the one along here, and a y-axis, which is a vertical line along there. Every axis has to have a scale, which are these little lines on the x and the y-axis. You need to number your scale, and it can be numbered either 1, 2, 3, -1, -2, -3, or it can go up by 2s as long as they go up by the same amount on the x-axis and the same amount on the y-axis. But the x-axis does not have to be the same as the y-axis. Mine will be at the moment, just to keep it simple. You'll notice that when we draw the x and y axes, it divides everything into 4 sections. These are called quadrants. This quadrant is called our first quadrant. This is our second quadrant. Quadrant meaning 4 quarters. This is our third quadrant. And this is our fourth quadrant. There's a lot of new words in this topic. You might need to concentrate to understand sometimes because I'm using words that you might have forgotten because you didn't know them before the lesson started. If we want to label a point, or if I'd like to talk to you about a point on my number plane, I have to somehow explain to you which point I'm talking about. So for example, I would like to talk about this point here. But that's not very descriptive if I say this point here. I can say, oh, that is point A. And I can have another point that will be point B, which might be over here. To describe these points to somebody else so that they know what we are talking about, we need to describe them using coordinates. A coordinate is made up of an x value and a y value. The x value tells us how far left or right from 0 we need to go, and the y value tells us how high up or down we need to go. So the x value tells us how far left or right we need to go from 0, depending on if it's a plus or a minus. And the y value tells us how far up or down we need to go, depending on if it's a plus or a minus. So for example, my point A that I was talking about before, if I start at 0, our 0 is in the middle, and 0 has a special name, it's called the origin. 0, 0 is the origin. We need to start at the origin every time we plot a point or we need to find a point. So this point A is to the right 1 and up 3. So I need to call that point 1, 3. I go along the x-axis 1 to the right because it's plus, and I go up 3 because it's plus 3. My point B over here, if I start at 0, remember I need to do x first. So I need to come over here first to minus 3, and then I need to go down to minus 2. If I need to go backwards and then I need to plot a point that's given to me, let's say I'm given the point 2, -1. We'll call that point C. I need to plot that point. Don't forget the first number is x and the second number is y. And the x tells me how far left or right I need to go, and the y value tells me how high or how low I need to go. So my point is 2, that's 2 over here to the right, and then -1, so I've got to go down 1. That will be my point C. So hopefully everybody now knows how to plot a point and how to read the coordinates from a point that's given. Another way that these coordinates can be given to us is in what's called a table of values, and it looks like this. So instead of having our coordinates written with an x and a y, where we have 4, -3, which would tell us move to the right 4 and then down 3, it now gets told as a table. So we have to be able to understand how to make this information look like the information that we already know how to do. So here it's telling us that when x equals 0, y equals 0. When x equals 1, y equals 2. That's a pair, that's a pair. We go down, that's our pairs. So our coordinates, if we want to write them as coordinates like we already know, would be 0, 0. The second coordinate would be 1, 2. Remember, x always comes first. Our next coordinate would be 2, 4, then 3, 6, and lucky last 4, 8. Once we have our coordinates written the way that we want, we can now plot them on our number plane. Our first point is 0, 0, which is the origin. Our second point is 1, 2. We start at 0, go across to 1, and up to 2. Then we have 2, 4. We go across to 2 and up to 4. Our next point is 3, 6. Over to 3 and up to 6. You can do a cross or a dot. Either one is fine, just as long as you put it in the right spot. And our last point for our table of values is 4, 8. 4, 8. And of course you should be using a ruler. If I'm observant, I should then notice that these points all lie in a particular direction. And if you get out a ruler, you should be able to join your points up with your ruler. This line is called linear. It's a straight line. It's got the word line in it, so you can recognize it. Line, linear. And our straight lines are what we study next. Thanks everybody for watching my new video. Don't forget to like and subscribe below.